Warahmatullahi Wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. I'm Felly Ziahna and I'm from TBI 5A, Fatmawati Soekarno State Islamic University. And in this video, I will explain about learning material method, the silent way, and hope you enjoy for watching this video. See you.
First of all, I will explain what a learning method. Learning method is a method used to implement plans that have been prepared in the form of real and practical activities to active learning objectives. There are 6 learning methods. The first is community language learning. And 2, Suggestopedia. 3, the silent way. 4, total physical response. 5, the nature approach, and 6, grammatical translation method. And here I will explain about the silent way. The silent way learning method is a learning method in which students are active in the learning process. The teacher mostly silent, but the teacher actively use movement, pictures, and design to prove and form reactions. The teacher creates an environmental atmosphere that encourages students to try and provide facilities in the learning process. The silent way rests on more cognitive than affective arguments for its theoretical sustenance. While Caleb Catigno, its founder, was said to be interested in a humanistic approach, Camus and McCune, 1984, to education, much of the silent way was characterized by a problem-solving approach to learning. Richard and Rogers, 1986, summarized the theory of learning behind the silent way. 1. Learning is facilitated if the learner discovers of creates character, then remembers and repeats what is to be learned. 2. Learning is facilitated by accompanying or mediating physical object. 3. Learning is facilitated by problem solving involving the material to be learned. Discovery learning, a popular educational trend of the 1960s, advocate less learning by being taught and more learning by discovering for oneself various facts and principles. In this way, students constructed conceptual hierarchies of their own that were a product of the time they invested. Ausubel's subsumption, PLLT, Chapter 4, was enchanted by discovery learning since the cognitive categories were created meaningfully with less change of rote learning taking place. Introductive process were also integrated more in discovery learning methods. The silent way capitalized on such discovery learning procedures. Catigno, 1972, believed that learners should develop independence, autonomy, and responsibility. At the same time, learners in a silent way classroom had to cooperate with each other in the process of solving language problems. The teacher, a simulator but not a hand holder, was silent much of the time. Thus the name of the method. Teacher had to resist their instinct to spell everything out in the black and white. To come to the aid of students at the slightest downfall, they had to get out of the way, while students worked out solutions. In a language classroom, the silent way typically utilized as material a set of questionnaire rods, small colored rods of varying lengths, and a series of colorful wall charts. The rods were used to introduce vocabulary, colors, number, adjectives like long, short, and so on. Verb give, take, pick up, drop, and syntax, tense, cooperative, pluralization, word order, and the like. The teacher provided single word stimuli or short pairs and sentence once or twice, and then the student refined their understanding and pronunciation among themselves with minimal corrective feedback from the teacher. The chart introduced pronunciation models, grammatical paradigms, and the like. Like Suggestopedia, the silent way has had its share of criticism. In the one sense, the silent way was too harsh a method, and the teacher to distant to encourage a communicative atmosphere. Students often need more guidance and overcorrections that the silent way permit. There are a number of aspects of language that can indeed be taught to students to their benefit. They need not, as in CLL as well, struggle for hours, or they with a concept that could be casually clarified by the teacher's direct guidance. The rods and charts were thin. After a few lessons and other materials must be introduced, which point the silent way classroom can look like any other language classroom. And yet, the underlying principles of the silent way are valid. All too often we are tempted as teachers to provide everything for our students, neatly served up on a silver platter. We could benefit from injecting healthy dose of discovery learning into our classroom activities, and from providing less teacher talk than we usually do to let the student work things out on their own. Another example of the silent way is the teacher showing students a small red questionnaire stamp and a large blue one and saying blue is bigger than red. The student repeat this. The teacher then substitutes the stamp to generate other models, and finally encourages students to generate their own comparisons. Then, from what can be concluded in the silent way learning process, the role of students is also very much needed. Students are required to be independent in learning, and peer correction is very helpful. Students are also trained to be creative by making new sentences. The activities in this method function to encourage and shape students' response. Therefore, the class becomes active. The use of media such as sounds, color, chart can present all sounds in the target language being studied, so students know what sounds are, what has been learned, and what has not been learned. The existence of teacher silent makes the teacher can help students when it is needed, and with peer correction, students are encouraged to help each other when their friends have problems or feel what they are learning is difficult to understand. Students also learn to use pictures to facilitate vocabulary in the target language. That is learned by using a word chart. And finally, the use of road media is used for learning, practicing vocabulary, so students will think creatively and innovatively. The use of media in silent way also makes students more active in saying words and even sentences.